we are so thrilled that so many of you came and braved the cold, not the snow, not yet, but the cold, to be with us tonight. And I also want to thank all the elected officials who came as well for supporting us. We really appreciate that you come to all our events and really are here for HMTC. So we're very lucky that we have some great panelists here today who are going to speak about a lot of different issues. I'm going to introduce Lisa Anise, who is the Holocaust Education Specialist, I'm going to call her, with SHARAKA. I like that title better. And she's going to tell you about SHARAKA. She's going to tell you about the Holocaust education aspect. She's going to introduce the rest of the panel. And then we're going to have them talk about certain things and introduce, and then we'll have some questions, and then if we have time, which I'm sure we will, we'll open it up to some Q&A. Okay? So that's the plan for the evening. Elisa, you're up.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, good evening. If this is the last time you leave your house for the next few days, I really hope you live up to the expectation. I really want to thank all the museum staff and everyone for allowing us to make this happen, and I want to thank you for coming. My name is Elisa, and I've been part of SHARAKA now for 2 years. My journey with SHARAKA really started because around a few months after October 7th, I got a phone call from somebody. I've been involved in Holocaust education my whole life, and for the last 7 years, I've been interviewing Holocaust survivors and helping them share their stories within Israel with different groups and people that came to visit. I worked through Yad Vashem and through several different initiatives. And a few months after October 7th, I get a phone call. Hi, do you want to come to Poland and to Auschwitz with a group of Muslims from around the Middle East in a week? I said, yes, but who are you and how do you have my number? He starts telling me about this organization called SHARAKA, which means building bridges in Arabic. And he said, you know what? Just come, meet me there in 2 days. 2 days later, I get there and I meet my fellow colleagues, Yusuf, Fatima, and an amazing group of people that inspired me. Because for so long, I wanted to make sure that the distortion, the denial, the anti-Semitism that we see a lot within the Middle East and within Muslim societies could be combated. And here I was next to voices from the region risking so much to come to Poland, to learn, and to be part of this mission, to be part of bringing people together and of building bridges. SHARAKA as an organization was founded within weeks after the Abraham Accords, with the purpose of bringing together people from the Middle East to Israel, allow them to learn, allow them to see, people from Israel of all religions to the Middle East, to Bahrain, to Morocco, to the UAE, to sit down and have meals, to understand that maybe we will not agree on everything, but to understand that more than anything, we can come together and break down stereotypes. We live in a world which is constantly trying to divide us, and yet learning about the other and learning about the distortion, the denial, the misinformation which is often spread in the region, learning the truth, going to Poland, seeing with your own eyes, meeting a Holocaust survivor. I've seen how these first-hand experiences impact every single one of our Muslim participants from the region. And just to finish off, and before I introduce my panelists, I will share a very personal story. This past Yom Kippur, my community in Manchester in England was targeted. And I finished the fast and I opened up my phone, and everybody I know in the Jewish world, they had not yet been on their phones, they didn't yet see the news. And yet I opened my phone to many, many messages of Muslims from the regions we work with, people from Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Morocco, UAE, Bahrain, people telling me that they stand against this, Muslims. In what world do people think this is possible in today's society? We do not. And yet, here we are, SHARAKA, growing an amazing community of voices, of moderate voices in the Middle East, proving to people that this is possible. And so I really want to now host it on to my amazing panelists. And Yusuf, I want you to explain to us a little bit about the story of Morocco and how you got involved as being the SHARAKA Morocco director.
Thank you, Alyssa. I didn't expect you to start with me. Thank you for that honor. So as you can see, I am the only woman in a man's world. I'm very pleased. So my name is Youssef El Azhari. I come from Marrakesh, Morocco. And I was very happy to see that many of you, they've been to Morocco before. And for the people who didn't go to Morocco, I wish I can share with you something very interesting about where I come from. So the first Jews who came to Morocco, it was very, very long time ago. We're talking here about more than 2,000 years after the destruction of the first temple. And the second Jews who came to Morocco, it was after the Spanish Inquisition, where they got expelled from Portugal and Spain, and they thought there's gonna be no Jew in North Africa. But to their surprise, they found a thriving community in there. And they joined forces to have a bigger community in North Africa. You know, the thing is that there were so many dynasties in Morocco that they were very bad to the Jews, and I cannot deny this is history. Some of them, they submitted a second status to Jews, and they had to pay so they can perpetuate their work and maintain their interest. But some in dynasties, they were also so good to Jews, and they put them in the center of decision making. They put them in the center of financial decision making, and I got to be lucky to be born in the right or the good dynasty, meaning that coming from a dynasty that submitted Dhimma status to Jews to the last dynasty who put Jews in the center of the political decision making, meaning that we have right now the head advisor of the king himself. His name is Andre Azoulay, and he is a Jewish Moroccan person. So here you can understand the evolution of that community. We don't like to call it minority. This is undermining the community by number, but by influence, no, that's a very influential community. I want you to understand something very important about Morocco. You know, we've been colonized by two countries, mainly, the French and the Spanish. And this created automatically a Moroccan diaspora in their respectively in their countries. So the biggest Moroccan diaspora all over the world is in France. The second biggest diaspora is in Spain, Moroccan diaspora. Okay, cool. I have a question. Where is the third biggest diaspora? Exactly. It's Israel. It's true. So you have around roughly 1 million Israeli Jews that they come from Moroccan origins and that they live in Israel right now. This without talking about the diaspora living in Canada, America, France, etc., etc. So for us, it's not about signing the Abraham Accord or joining something new. Of course, we were very honored to join UAE, Bahrain to sign those accords. But in reality, we've been trying to do peace since forever. King Hassan II in 1994, he met with Shimon Peres, and he even tried to invite Yasser Arafat just to do something about that. Why it didn't work? Because King Hassan died in 1999. But the project was ongoing. So this is, for me, how natural the relationships are between Morocco and Israel. We didn't do it just because we want sovereignty over Moroccan Sahara, as many people, they want to say it that way. No, we always had relationship with what we call our diaspora in Israel. This was, let's say, this is the good news, okay? Let's go to bad news right now. This didn't make us immune from the propaganda. The problem is that the penetration rate of Al Jazeera news outlet and other outlets was so big in Morocco that all families, they consume it from breakfast to dinner. And that was really problematic because we underestimated the effect of Al Jazeera to make people very anti-Semitic. The problem is this: even if we have a very great security, we have great security policies in Morocco and Jews are safe. As a matter of fact, after October 7th and after all those demonstrations against the Israelis, there were no demonstration in front of a synagogue. I'm assuming what I'm saying. Not even one. And here you can understand that threatening the safety of Moroccan Jews in Morocco is criminalized by more than 10 years in prison. Sometimes it's even worse than that. And here you can understand it's not just a matter of freedom of speech, which is a national threat to religious integrity. And this is why Morocco is very severe about that. So the problem is that Moroccans had to do a compromise. When they consumed all this propaganda, they were like, you know what, we're gonna phrase it that way. I don't know what they meant by it, but they said, we love our Moroccan Jews, they are our brothers and sisters, but we hate the Zionists. I don't know how they made that compromise, but at the same time, I had to go to see the Zionists. I had to go to see the Israeli. I had to do it because I cannot judge a country I've never visited. So 4 years ago, I made the decision to go to Israel. Very logical, right? Like how people, you can hate people that you don't know. So let's go and see. I went there, first second changed my life. I'm assuming what I'm saying. Because once I landed in Ben Gurion airport, I saw the trilingual signs. So you have Hebrew and Arabic. I even asked my friends if we landed on the right airport. I thought it's a first step, then there is at the airport in Tel Aviv. No, they told me, that's it, you are in Israel, welcome. Okay. And it was back in COVID times, there was a huge room. And they're full of boxes, they do PCR test to you. And then there was a woman, veiled, clearly Muslim. I was like, okay, I thought even they are doing it as a marketing stunt. These are Moroccan come in and they're like, let's put a Muslim there so they will feel safe. But the funny thing is that I went to her, I told her, who are you? Muslim, Jew, what are you doing there? And she was like, you are very talkative, huh? And then she was like, give me your nose. I'm gonna do PCR test to you. And then she answered to me with the most beautiful answer. She made me feel very stupid, to be honest. Told me, my grandparents used to be Palestinians. I am an Arab Israeli. Wow, just like that, in a very cool way. No drama in it, assuming the whole sentence. And then when I went out of the airport, I made myself think, actually she's right. That region was like stateless in a way that many countries emerged. Nobody blamed the Jordanians until 1946 and they created their country. Nobody blamed the Pakistanis, they used to be called Muslim Indians. In 1947 they started the Pakistan. Why are we blaming Israel after 1948? And that really clicked in my mind because I'm like, maybe I'm not really sure about whatever I learned before, and maybe it's time to question everything. You know, I've been very happy, and I've been hugged more in Israel than in Morocco for the only reason, whenever I identify as a Moroccan, oh, Morocco, and they come to hug me. And I can hear many stories, oh, my dad worked for the king, and my dad did that, my dad was the barber of the king. And here you can understand the love Israelis they have for Morocco. And I want to tell you something interesting here, because this is for me the first time that I unlocked a feeling, which is to be loved by the people you were supposed to hate. I have never felt that before. Because of the propaganda, that's something really touched me to the bone. So it was an amazing experience, and yeah, I went there as a tourist. I came back as a Mossad agent. There you can understand the backlash and what were you doing in there and why not Dubai, why Israel, who are you? What did they tell you there? And I think it's the first time that I am the fruit of a propaganda. It's the first time in my life that I am in something way bigger than I expected. And then I asked myself the very honest question, if there are many innocent people that they want to cheer for other people, right, then why do they lie about me? I didn't do anything wrong, so why lies? Why do you make up stories just to validate your own opinion? I believe it's after 3 months after that I decided to join SHARAKA and create the Moroccan chapter of it, because at that moment I felt my moral obligation to tell the Moroccans a reality that they are not used to, and a reality that they really need to understand. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Fatima, you're from a place in the Middle East that many people have never even heard of. That's the worst part of the group.
I heard about it.
Can you please explain to us a little bit about Bahrain, about your upbringing, and about the story of Bahrain and the Abraham Accords and how that was introduced to SHARAKA as well?
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to be here with you all. My name is Fatma, I'm from Bahrain. Growing up in Bahrain, we're a very small country, an island in the middle of the Middle East. Either it's not, people don't know anything about it, or they can't even locate it on a map. But we're trying to advocate for Bahrain as much as we can. It's a very small country, but beautiful country. We always lived in a very beautiful coexistence scene, because growing up, we always had the Jewish community part of the Bahraini community, Christian community that are Bahrainis indigenous to the land, but also alongside the Muslims, of course. but also a lot of people that came working in Bahrain from different religions like Buddhists and Hindus, that they have their temples in Bahrain, that they can practice their religion freely. We used to have the only synagogue in the Arabian Gulf before the Abraham Accord. It's 140 years old, and it's in the middle of the local old market in the capital of Manama of Bahrain. And it's in the middle of the market. It doesn't require security. Alongside, you can see a church, a mosque, and temples, you know. So we have this beautiful scene of coexistence, of people living together, everyone practicing their religion freely. And at the same time, I go to the school and then I hear the teacher telling me, you're supposed to hate Israel. Israel is the enemy. The Jews from Israel are different from the Jews in Bahrain, like similar situation in Morocco. And you're supposed to hate them. So I go back home and I ask my mom, I was just a kid. So I ask my mom, why I'm supposed to hate someone that I don't know? Why am I supposed to hate the Jews or Israel? And my mom always tells me, you're not supposed to hate anyone that you don't know. So growing up, I always had this debate in my mind. We have Jews and Christians living alongside Muslims, but I'm supposed to hate the Israeli and the Jews. So I told my parents, one day I'll go visit Israel. I want to see it by my own eyes. They were like, okay, we'll be supportive, but it's not going to happen. But then, surprisingly, the Abraham Accord happened. It surprised all of us. I was so happy about it because I was like, oh, we're finally moving forward towards peace, and my country is taking a leadership role in that. So SHARAKA was established, and I immediately get invited. And of course, we were all afraid, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, myself, but everyone was supportive. I wanted to see by my own eyes. I went there. The moment we landed and went to Tel Aviv in the hotel, we went out of the hotel just wanting to explore the area. Like literally few steps from the hotel, someone came approaching me and he was running and he said, excuse me, can I ask you a question? At that moment, I thought he would be like, what are you doing here? Go back to your home. You're not welcome. Because this is the picture that we have about Israel. And he was like, where are you from? Are you from Bahrain or Dubai? He knew immediately because the Abraham Accord was just signed a month ago, and it was all the fuss about it in the in the news outlets. And I answered Bahrain. My friend said Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and he said, welcome. We've been waiting to have peace with Arabs for a long time.
Oh, no.
If you tell me 10 years ago that I would be welcomed in the middle of Tel Aviv streets in my first day by a Jewish stranger, I wouldn't believe that. But that was the reality that shocked me. I met Israeli Jews, Arabs, Christians, Muslims, Bedouin, Druze. We went all over. I went to Al-Aqsa Mosque because we always hear stories that if a Muslim go to Al-Aqsa Mosque and I wear my hijab, you'll get beaten by the police and the IDF won't let you in, they won't let you pray, it's not allowed, but I went there. Thankfully, nobody hurt me and nobody stopped me. They let me in, they were so welcoming. I prayed in Al-Aqsa Mosque, I went to the Kotel, and everybody, the Jewish people there were so welcoming. I went to the church, the Christian community was so welcoming. So I saw a reality that shocked me, and I didn't think people would receive me with so much love. I actually got invited to so many Shabbat dinners by strangers. At that point, I didn't know what a Shabbat dinner, but I kept saying yes. But gladly, 5 years later, I've been to hundreds of Shabbat dinners. I'm experienced with the prayers, with the food, all around the world, in the US, in Bahrain, in UAE, in Europe. But people saw me as a guest. They wanted to do everything for me, you know? And everybody was happy seeing an Arab and Muslim coming, taking first step to build bridges with Israel and the Jews. But at the same time, I was like, it's not something that happens every day, that a familiar face posts about it on social media. I actually was the first citizen from Bahrain to go visit Israel after the Accords. So it's not something that happens every day. So I started posting about it on social media. I have tens of thousands of followers. So it's a good idea. People will see my trip through social media. So when I started posting, you can imagine the hate that I received. You're a traitor. I hope you die. You don't deserve wearing the hijab. Take it off. You're not you're not a real Muslim, you're a Jewish actor. They told me you don't even deserve your name, because my name is Fatima and the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Prophet's daughter. So it's like, no, you don't even deserve your name, you know? They even told me I'm a Mossad agent. I'm like, if I'm a Mossad agent, I'm doing a bad job. Everyone knows that. But you can imagine all of this hate that even Al Jazeera did a hit piece on me. Like they put all my videos that I shared on Instagram on Al Jazeera channel. So you can imagine the spotlight I was in. But that only made me realize the importance of my voice, because I went there just wanting to meet people, seeing the country. I didn't have any agenda or plan or anything that I will advocate for peace or build bridges with people. I just wanted to be a tourist in Israel, you know? But then I realized that I should amplify my voice and talk more about my trip and talk about the reality that I saw. And since that day, I've been advocating for peace and building bridges between my community, Muslims and Arabs, with Israel and the Jews. And one of the things that we do, we take a lot of Bahrainis to go to Israel, but also Israelis to Bahrain, because it goes both ways, you know? It's a new relationship, so we need them also to get to know us. And that's what I've been doing the past 5 years. Thank you.
Over the past 5 years, SHARAKA proudly has hosted around 1,000 participants from around the Abraham Accords countries and beyond, delegations to Poland, Germany, and to Israel. And we believe that it's these voices that are shaping the new Middle East. It's making people feel more comfortable to be a moderate voice in the region. And many people have approached us after October 7th from countries such as Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and said, we believe in this mission too. We stand with you. And they've been part of our programs to Poland, even if it's not allowed for them to join our programs in Israel due to safety reasons for themselves as well. And I think one of the most significant stories that we have to share is we have somebody who is from Pakistan, who has joined our delegations to Auschwitz. He is a very well-known journalist in the region, and he comes from a country where Mein Kampf is sold on every street corner. He comes from a country with extreme radicalism and where anti-Semitism is everywhere. And he came with us to Auschwitz, and he actually posted in Pashto and Urdu, which are the two native languages there, about his journey. He did a daily blog with his mission, sharing it to 200,000 of his followers on social media, but beyond that, sharing it within his networks in the region. And this is exactly the influence we are trying to make as well. Every single person that's part of our programs is an ambassador for this message in this region. And they are able to share it to whatever capacity they can, and they're able to make sure that the people that need this message most share it as well. And I really want to turn this over to Rachel, because Rachel is in charge of all of our affairs in the United States. And as much as we believe that this message needs to be shared in the Middle East, we also see a growing amount of anti-Semitism and of divide in the United States and in the West as well. And Rachel, I'd like you to share with everybody a little bit about our experiences on speaking tours and why it's so important that we come to different areas and share this message.
Sure, so thank you again everyone for being here. We really appreciate it, especially with the storm coming. So I'm Rachel, I'm our U.S. Affairs Manager, and really the core of our work is in the Middle East, bringing people together, but we recognize that the United States plays such a role in things that happen back home, whether you like it, whether we like it. The United States is very important, not just on a governmental level, but civil society. And the discourse that happens in America directly affects those living back in the Middle East. So a lot of our work that we do here is going to university campuses. We speak at young professional organizations. We go to churches, synagogues, mosques. We meet with elected officials and really try to meet as many people as we can, sharing this new growing voice that's coming. For one, to bring hope, to show people that the Middle East isn't just chaos and war. There are people that are really working together to do things and make a change, but also kind of show people another narrative as well that they're not seeing. Because I think when you look at social media, everything is polarized. It's you're on this side, you're on this side, you can't sit at a table, and we're showing people that it is possible. And overall, I think it's been really amazing. The students that we interact with, the adults that we interact with are so interested and thank us for coming. There are certain times, I think, when we go to universities, especially over the past 2 years, when a lot of different protesters or people trying to interrupt our mission. I think it was just funny, the other day we just had an event, and obviously we're an organization focused on peace, and there was a flyer sent out telling people to interrupt our Q&A, and in the flyer that they made to counter us, they made us sound so good, and I just think it's so funny. They're like, SHARAKA, a peaceful organization trying to bring together relationships, and they were saying as if it's a bad thing, and we're sitting here reading it like, we sound so good, but unfortunately there are these voices trying to stop us. But oftentimes when people come, they may interrupt, they may, protest, hold signs in the back, but oftentimes after they hear people like Fatima and Yosef share their stories and speak, they usually end up sitting down, they sit through the whole thing, and almost every single time they come up to us afterwards and they have a real conversation. We've had times where people were shouting at us during an event, and by the end of the evening, they were inviting us to coffee the next day. And I think it really is just powerful in showing like that we are people here that are really trying to encourage dialogue. We always let people finish what they want to say. We don't interrupt. We're not hostile towards everyone, because we really do believe in letting people share their piece and sharing their voices. But so it's been really an incredible journey over the past few years, speaking to so many people. And I think Jews, non-Jews have all told us that they're so happy that we came to their communities, and it's something that we're always trying to continue to do, trying to go to new communities around the country, and also hopefully other countries in Canada and Europe, because I think these are important stories that need to be shared really all over the place, not just in the United States.
Just an hour ago, Donna was giving us a tour around the museum. And one thing that I got about this museum specifically is the stories of hope at the end as well. Saying we are here, and this museum was donated by survivors that moved to this area, and that we've been through so much, and the Holocaust happened, but we are devoted to make sure that it never repeats itself. And I think that's the reason I joined SHARAKA, because we have voices from the region who are devoted to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. And Fatima, I really want you to explain to us one of the projects that have come out of the Holocaust education program by a participant from Bahrain, and how really you see the impact on the ground within the communities that you work with there as well.
One of the projects that came out from the Holocaust education program, because when they come and they spend a week in Israel and a week in Poland learning about it, visiting Auschwitz, and at the same time, they have a lot of online lectures from experts about the Holocaust and fighting hate and extremism. By the end of that, those graduates become like ambassador to the knowledge that they got, and they have to apply that knowledge to their specific area. So one of them are from Bahrain. She's a girl that became very passionate about the knowledge that she got, and she was like, I need to share it in any way possible. One of the things, she started actually writing articles in English and in Arabic. She started an Instagram page to share all this knowledge, and she's very active. And the third thing that she done, like all these things are one person. The third thing she done, she wrote a children's book about the Holocaust. So you can imagine how passionate she was about everything she got, but she felt the responsibility that I must share all this knowledge with the people back home. So this is one of the examples. But one other example of the impact that we see in our communities is whenever we get into this work, me and Yusuf as Muslims and Arabs, we lose friends, family, colleagues, because they cut us off because we're associated with Israel. For this specific person I'm telling you the story about, she didn't cut me off. She's my best friend until today. She kept her distance. She didn't ask questions. She grew up very religious. We pray 5 times a day. Whenever she prays, she has a favorite prayer she keeps saying for, I think, the past 20 years. And it's, may God destroy Israel and the Jews. So she grew up with so much hate towards the Jews and Israel, with a lot of anti-Semitic upbringing. And when I got into this work, she kept her distance. But 2 years later, we decided to bring the first Israeli delegation to Bahrain. And we thought to bring mostly Israeli Arabs, because it's easier for Bahrainis to connect with them, people that speaks Arabic, most of them were Muslims, and they say, I'm a proud Israeli, So it confuses them a bit, but at least they can talk to them easier in Arabic. So most of the delegation were Muslim Arabs. There were 2 Christians and only 2 Jews in the delegation that are part of our team. So she started asking me questions. Where are you taking them? What part of Bahrain they're seeing? I'm like, listen, I'm not answering any questions. I'm not going to spoon feed you any information. Come and meet them. She's like, no, I don't think it's a good idea to be seen with the Zionists. I'm like, listen, worst case scenario, you'll be seen with more Bahrainis than Israelis. The dinners in Bahrain, we're inviting more than 60 Bahrainis to meet the delegation because we want them to see our country, you know, the people, meet youth leaders, business leaders, people working in the government. And she said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I was like, listen, we're going to a very fancy restaurant, very fancy chef. You'll enjoy the food. She said, okay, I'm coming for the food. It was easy. So the day came, she came, I was like greeting people and letting them go in. She came and I swear to God, it was a coincidence, fate. She sat next to the two Jews that were, there were more than 75 people, most of them were Muslims and Arabs. She sat next to the two Jews. I was worried because I thought she would say something disrespectful or rude, although it's not her personality, but you never know. So I kept looking at her the whole night, but she was asking questions, listening to their answers. By the end of the night, she came running to me. She was like, Fatima, oh my God, I can't believe this. I was like, what's wrong? What happened? She was like, you know, they're just like us. I'm like, of course they're just like us. They're normal human beings. She was like, no, silly, but I don't mean that. They're very Middle Eastern. I was shocked. They look like us. They have very similar values to us, family values that are similar to us. I thought I'd see something very Western, very different than us. Their music taste is similar to us. Their religious textbooks have so much similarities to the Quran. And I'm shocked. I'm like, so now you're convinced they're Middle Eastern. You know, they're only 2 hours away by airplane from Bahrain. So it's like, I didn't believe that before, but I do today. I always joke around her that she's a recovered anti-Semite person. We recovered her. And since that day, she stopped saying that prayer. She saw the human in those people. She saw that they look like us. They're normal human beings with dreams, with families. And since that day, she became a defender for those people. Whenever someone says something bad about Israel or the Jews, she's like, have you ever met an Israeli? Have you ever talked to a Jew? So I think interactions like this, it took her only one dinner, 2 hours, and meeting two Jews just to forget her whole life that she was very anti-Semitic and hateful towards the Jews. So I think that impact, seeing one person at a time, is huge, and that's what we always encourage us to work and bring more people into this mission.
Yusuf, I really want you to touch upon the same ideas. How has the education programs that we bring and the delegations to Israel and to Poland and Germany impact the participants that you have brought from Morocco?
So basically, if I think if you notice that me and Fatima, we are not excommunicados. Like, we go back to our home country and we are a grassroots organization, meaning that I come after tomorrow, God willing, to Morocco, and I go back to my own community and I work with them directly. Same thing for Fatima. So meaning that not only there is a governmental trust that they let us work in there, and we really salute that from the leadership in our countries, that they let us bring people to Auschwitz, bring people to Israel. And I will tell you a scoop, which is that we're bringing a delegation next month to Israel. It's going to be in February 5th to 12th. So the thing is that the idea to bring them there is not as a part of a particular propaganda. Why the leadership, they understand the value of what we do there is because we want to balance the public opinion. Because if you have people marching against Israel, then you want people to understand what's happening within Israel. And how can we do that? Just bring them in there. You know, something interesting in what Fatima said about her friend who was more interested in the food than the meeting with Israelis. I think it's exactly what we do in SHARAKA, because I don't think that we are the smartest people in the room or we got an innovative idea. I think we just got courageous. I think we embraced more courage than intelligence, in a way that the only thing that we did is that we exposed ourselves as the bridge builders, and we asked people to come with us, to join us, to go to Auschwitz and to Israel. And here you're gonna tell me, I mean not you, but mainly because I'm gonna import to you or project you to the Arab audience and the critiques they keep telling us is that why Holocaust education now? You know, we are exposed to people dying, and we see this in Al Jazeera. And here you can understand that they don't get it. In a way that for us, it's not about comparing miseries. For us, it's because Israel should make sense to them. And without Holocaust education, Israel will never make sense to them. And as a matter of fact, for the past 3 years, we took them to Berlin before Auschwitz, so they can understand the Nazi Germany and its ideology and philosophy. And we told them the simple thing, and we quote all the Nazi verbatims back in there, and then we told them in a big highlight, did you read it very well? It says, go back to Israel. And right now that they are in Israel, go back to Europe. So, do you understand the confusion in that? Do you understand why Holocaust education is important? Because Israelis, they didn't decide just out of nowhere to go back to their homeland. They were massacred, they were prosecuted, and they had to flee for their life to go to Israel. And here you can understand how powerful Holocaust education is so appealing to the Arabs. Because I know America invested a lot to educate Americans on Holocaust. But who's gonna do this for Arabs? Leaders in Arab, they have their other priorities. Do they believe in it? Some of them, Morocco, Bahrain, why? Because they have an indigenous Jewish community. But what about the countries that they don't have the indigenous Jewish community? How can you be out of the blue interested in Holocaust education? And this is why we invested in that as SHARAKA. We partnered with the Claims Conference, and we partnered with other organizations that we're gonna do is a courageous, simple work of bringing money from that project to that project. And that even if we are not a travel agency, but in the same time, we will make sure to bring leaders. So we took people from the medical sector, we took people from the political sector, we took even people from the science and the research sector. Why? Because we saw in those people the potential to spread the word. As simple as that. You have no idea how many doctors we brought to Auschwitz and to Israel. And for us, you can understand this very short conversation between a doctor and its patients. And here you're gonna tell me how, and then I'm gonna tell you, imagine a patient coming to his doctor, and that doctor is the one that he trusts the most in his life, and he tell him, you saw what happened in Al Jazeera, the Zionists again killed this and that. And then he was like, oh wait, I went to Israel. You want me to tell you what I've seen? And then he was like, oh, this is a doctor, maybe he's more credible than what I have watched. And this is exactly the butterfly effect we're trying to create from this. You know, Holocaust education really changed many Arabs' mind. We've seen people understanding, and you have no idea, like you have tons of experience that they can share with you about participants, normal one. They come to me, they're like, Yusuf, wow, the Jews, they really went through a massacre. And for me, that's exactly what I want them to learn. I'm not, this is just history. History that will tell them that Israelis are Middle Eastern. They didn't choose to go to Europe just because they wanted to. They just went to their homeland, biblically, historically, whatever you want to call it, this is where they are from. And this is exactly what we try to highlight, and why also, again, is very, very important, because if we don't do that, who are the next leaders who are going to discuss peace with Israelis? Who are the Arabs, the prominent Arabs that we want to hope to put or to gamble on to bring us peace in the region? The problem right now, especially nowadays as of 2026, is that we are relying on Arab leaders, not all of them, of course. The one who signed the Abraham Accord understood the assignments, and they are the one leading that peace. But the other Arabs, they are discussing peace between Palestinians and Israel, and they don't know nothing about the history of Israel. Those are leaders, those are political leaders. So where is our moral obligation to tell them this is what you should do? So basically, I think I give you an answer to how the Holocaust education program is so valuable, so crucial for the Arab audience. And put two lines in the for the Arab audience to know, to grasp, and to understand.
If you would have told me on October 8th that an organization existed like SHARAKA, I wouldn't have believed you. Like many people in Israel, I lost many friends, and I'd really given up hope that we would be able to educate people from the Middle East about Judaism, about coming together, and about building bridges. And yet a few months later, I was really, and I say it's by God, that I found SHARAKA, and ever since then I've been leading our educational delegations. And Rachel, I really want you to touch upon a little bit about how our work actually grew since October 7th, and how as a network, the SHARAKA community has also expanded.
For sure. So I think one of the things that surprises people the most is that SHARAKA didn't have to stop our work over the past couple of years. I think definitely October 7th and the months afterwards were definitely very, and even the past few years have been very challenging. Obviously, it's natural with even the Gulf countries, if they're supportive of Israel and the Abraham Accord, it's still a very complicated situation. But despite all of that, we've still been able to bring people. We've had delegations specifically from Morocco constantly coming. We've still been able to do work throughout Europe as well. So if people weren't able to come to Israel, we held programming in Europe. So we held recently an interfaith dialogue where we brought together religious leaders from throughout the Arab world, as well as religious leaders from Israel, all Arabic speaking. So we had Arabic speaking rabbis meeting with a bunch of sheikhs and imams from not just Abraham Accords countries, but from I think Afghanistan, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all different countries that were able to come meet in Europe and talk about how can we use religion to bring people together instead of tearing us apart, as we're seeing in the news. So despite everything happening, we've been able to really continue this momentum. And I think something that's also kind of a testament to our work is a few months ago, right before when the Iran war happened, I think it was in May or June, we were supposed to have a delegation, and unfortunately it was canceled because of the war. And I remember, Lisa, you telling me that people in the group chat kept asking, so when are we coming? Is the trip going to be rescheduled? Despite the fact that we've been in a war for 2 years, there's another war that's happening now. People were still interested to coming, and I think it has a lot to do with the trust that we've built with communities. I think what's unique about SHARAKA is we're not just a Jewish organization of Israelis telling a bunch of Arabs to come, or vice versa. We're not a bunch of Arabs telling a bunch of Jews come to our countries. We have people on the ground that trust. People in Bahrain really trust Fatima and listen to her, and same thing with Yosef. They built these beautiful communities, and with our team in Israel as well. I think that's been really amazing that despite everything, we've been able to continue and really continuing to grow. And I think looking in kind of the future of SHARAKA in the next few years, and this, new countries potentially joining the Abraham Accords, we're already starting to reach out to people throughout the region, trying to build these relationships. So once, please God, countries continue to sign the accords, we could start bringing more people to Israel, bringing more people to different countries. It's been truly amazing. I think that unfortunately, not so many organizations have been able to continue this work. And I'll just add, in terms of the United States as well, I know unfortunately Jewish communities specifically have felt very isolated over the past few years. I know in my home community in Philadelphia, my parents have spoken about how the interfaith groups really haven't met over the past 2 years. And something that SHARAKA tries to do whenever we go to communities in the States is kind of be that bridge between the Jewish community and Christian community and Muslim community. And we always tell communities, use us as a way to start bringing people together. When we were in California a few months ago, there's an interfaith group in Los Angeles that hadn't met for 2 years, and they brought SHARAKA in for a lunch, and it was the first meeting in 2 years that we had. There was people from Church of Latter-day Saints, there was someone from the Catholic Church, there was people from the Black Muslim community, there was someone from a different mosque, there was Reform synagogues, conservative synagogues, and it was really amazing to see that SHARAKA's work is able to bring people together despite everything that's been happening.
And before we go to questions, I just want to share with you all another story about the reason I'm here, and I hope this gives you all hope as well when you go back home this evening. It was January 2020, there was a very large event at Yad Vashem for 75 years since Auschwitz separation, and I was working at Yad Vashem at the time with Holocaust survivors. And I escorted one of the Holocaust survivors I worked with. Her name is Rita Quinn. She's actually originally from New York City. And I escorted her to go talk to 3 presidents in one day from around the world. And on the way back, we're in the cab, and she looks at me, and she says, Elisa, do you know my story off by heart? And I said, yes, I do. And she said, I'm giving you the biggest responsibility I can possibly give you. I want you to make sure that when I'm no longer able to share my story, you share it. But I don't want you to share it to Jewish communities. I want you to share it to the people and the places that need it most. I want you to share it in the Middle East. I believe that one day you can get to different countries in the Middle East, in the Arab world, and make sure that they know the story of a Holocaust survivor. And until today, I live by her words, and thank God she's still alive. And every group I bring to Israel, the first stop that they do is to the house of Rena Quinn, where she shares with them her story, and she shares with them her hope for a better world than the world she lived in. And I want to give all of you some hope as well, because I think so far in today's society, we see so much darkness, and yet light like these people isn't what's shared on the news. And I really hope that the light that we've given you today, you take back home and you grasp onto it, and you remember whenever there's an anti-Semitic incident or wherever you feel that there's not that much hope, that there are amazing voices in the Middle East, and it's a growing minority of moderate voices who are fighting to make sure that extremism doesn't win. Thank you very much, and we really welcome any questions.
So before we open it up to questions, I have a question that I would want to pose, particularly to Fatima and Yosef. You talked about the social media hate, you know, and how difficult that is. We deal with this all the time as well. It's a real issue. How do you, I mean, obviously, you continue to do what you do. You don't let that win. But there must be times where it's draining. It's difficult. You feel like you're beating the head against the wall. You want to throw in the towel. What strategies, how do you persevere? Like, what do you do on a daily basis? When, I mean, I can imagine that hate is really, I mean, when someone tells you, you don't deserve to wear your hijab or you should go die, you know, like, how do you deal with that? I really just want to understand that the strength, your strength, it must be incredible.
You know, why do you think I am here, Donna?
I know.
I am here to steal your energy. I'm serious. This is how I cope with it. I come to America quite every 2 months or months. I meet with Jews in America. They give me energy, they hug me. Then I go back to Morocco to fight back. And then I do the same thing. And recently it's becoming very dense, so I'm coming every month. And I'm serious, because, you know, as much as this hatred like kind of propagate through echo chambers, the concept of echo chambers is also a very positive term, not only negative. Like echo chambers of support, echo chambers of reality, echo chambers of positive energy, and I believe in this. Like as I can see you, and as you are supporting that mission, you know, it's very hard, like, you know, to lose people that they are still alive, you know, cousins, friends, etc. But at the same time, you do it for the right cause. So I have never regretted whatever I do, because it's irreversible. Like once you know the reality, that's it. You don't want to live in lies again. And you get that responsibility, and you want to share this with your own people, whatever the sacrifice, because what can you do? Do you want to go back to your life where you are misinformed? So at least I feel a little bit of pride, not to say huge pride in doing this. And thank God there you are, with your beautiful smiles, and you give me also a lot of energy, a lot of support, and I cannot deny that. And I think this is how I resource myself. I don't have social media. I used to have a life on Instagram. I don't have that anymore because I wish I can avoid all the drama and all that. And we assume our responsibility. I am not a drama queen. And thank God. Sometimes it takes something from you, but it rewards you with something else. And the reward here for me is way bigger than what I lost. So yeah.
Honestly, for me, there are so many reasons, but the ones I remember is one of them. When I started doing all of this work, I asked an imam, he's an expert in Islam, and I told him, what I'm doing is right or wrong? He immediately told me what you're doing is right, and you're actually in the footsteps of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, because he always chose peace over conflict. So yeah, like encouragement like this tells me no, ignore everyone. Like if you can be in the footsteps of the Prophet, it's a huge thing, you know? if it's only like 0.1%. This is one thing. It's always a reminder in my mind. Another thing is my family support. Without my family, I wouldn't be here, you know, because whether I receive the hate, but then my family is there for me, it's one thing. But I think another thing is always like, as much as we receive hate, we receive so much love. As much as it's from, of course, as Yusuf said, from the Jewish community, but also from our own community. Maybe in the beginning it wasn't so much, it was more hate than love. But through the years, like last year, I was attending the Formula 1 race in Bahrain. And I was in the circuit. I was just sitting, waiting for the race to begin. And a woman came to me, and she's an old woman, and she was like, Fatima, excuse me. I was like, yes, what's wrong, you know? And she told me, I want you to know that I follow you and I support you. And believe me, there is a lot of Bahrainis that support you. So that's always heartwarming for me. So all of these encourages us to ignore the hate.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So I concur as far as HMTC's position is. Our work has grown since October 7th, not diminished. We do more work in schools. We are more in demand. Our survivors are more in demand. Our second generation is more in demand. You know, whenever people kind of feel like and say, oh, Holocaust education isn't working. Oh, you know, I don't know. I feel that we are doing an unbelievable job. And if we weren't doing what we were doing, where would we be? So I don't feel that at all. And when people kind of make those kind of comments, when you see the news saying some of the things that they say about Holocaust education, you know, I tell them where to go, because, you know, it's not true. And every student that walks through our doors, and I say this all the time, and I say this with true integrity, they are changed. It might only be for 5 minutes, but they're changed. They truly are changed. And it's the same thing. They have the connections. We had a situation the other day, Zach was here, I wasn't here, where the kids were taking pictures with one of our docents. They were so happy. They learned so much. They loved the docent. They were like that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. And we focus too much on the negative. We don't focus on the positive. We don't talk about all of the wins. And I think that the HMTC family is winning. And I don't want to, I don't want to believe anything else. So that goes to that. All right, we are going to open it up to questions. And I'm going to take one of the mics. And we'll pass it around. Okay?
Can I start? Do you want
Yes,
to-
Bali wants to start. She's the executive director.
I just want to thank everyone for being here. I'm going to jump for 1 second. First of all, I want to thank all of you for what you do. It's just truly incredible. And you are our modern day superheroes. And there's no way we could ever thank you enough. We really can't. So one big round of applause. Thank you. And I just want to say, Donna actually met with SHARAKA when she was on her trip to Israel, which was not a work trip, it was a family trip. And I know how precious that family time is. And for you to take your time out to meet and to make this happen today, you're incredible, and you know that, and you're a rock star, and I know she doesn't want me to say this. But, and that goes for the whole HMTC team, everything we do, very small family here, but from our staff, who's just incredible and deals with my insanity. Thank you so much. To everybody here, our survivors, our 2Gs, our 3Gs, our docents, and for all of you that come out to our events, and most importantly, for you to take whatever you hear at our events and share it with other people. Like, share the SHARAKA name, tell them what's happening out there. That's what we're all part of this. So I just want to thank everyone. And I guess my question to you is, to me and to us, you know, for us it's all about education, right? We do a lot of advocacy work with the adults, but at the end of the day, until we teach the kids, right? Because they're on TikTok all day long and they believe the propaganda. And some of these kids, the only time they have to hear the facts is when they're here. It's the only time maybe for some of them. So that being said, are things being done in some of these countries with the Abraham Accords? Because I think back to my father, you know, who fought in wars, you know, in Israel. And I think when he would say, well, the problem is we'd go to homes and we would find the textbooks and it would be filled with lies and stories to hate the Jews. And now I'm hearing the same thing from you today, not that I don't know that it happens, and I see what's happening on TikTok. So for us, I think the hard thing is, as much as we do what we do, even the schools that are completely by our side and want to help, they're worried, you know, if they teach something, even though it's the truth, they're gonna get pushback. And to me, that's very dangerous to choose to be silent because you're worried about the pushback. So kind of, I'm throwing a couple of things out there on you. So long-term, the most immediate question to you is, in the new countries that are coming onto the Abraham Accords, is the education changing? You know, at what point are you not buying Mein Kampf at the corner store?
The good news, yes, our country's actually done a huge job into the education curriculums. The Abraham Accord countries, Bahrain, UAE, Morocco, but also Saudi Arabia, which is not yet part of the Abraham Accord, hopefully in the near future. But all of these countries have already took the anti-Semitic content, they acknowledged the Jewish story into the Holocaust, and they acknowledged the Jewish parts, you know, that has to be acknowledged. But at the same time, they introduced a lot of curriculums, for example, in Bahrain, that teaches the student about coexistence, interfaith dialogue, stuff like that. So our countries are actually taking serious steps into that, because they know the only way to move forward and to change the whole country and the whole nation is through education. And thankfully, that's what has been done in our countries. But at the same time, there is another project that I can give you as an example. In Bahrain, we have the King Hamad Tolerance Center, which is established by the king himself in Bahrain. And they've done a lot of programs, diplomas into teaching things about the Holocaust, the coexistence, and also interfaith dialogue. So you can see, they started with schools, but there is also programs for people in universities and younger professionals. So yeah, thankfully.
That's incredible.
I just want to add one thing, which is that in a lot of countries around the Middle East that are not part of the Abraham Accords, they haven't yet adapted their education system. So Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, for example. But, and there is something that's been happening over the last few years, is there are 51, if I'm not mistaken, Muslim righteous among the nations during the Holocaust. And for many, many years, these stories were not known within the Muslim world. And something that you do see happening over the last 5 years is these stories are starting to come to light in the Middle East. There is the story of the Imam in Paris, for instance, who saved Jews in the Grand Mosque of Paris during the Holocaust. For so many years, the story was not known amongst the Middle East and in Muslim societies. And you see now people from those regions who do know a little bit about how Muslims helped save Jews during the Holocaust.
That's incredible.
Yes, so we'll open, Seth, I got this mic. Just as an aside, we have a 1994 survivor of the Tutsi genocide in Rwanda, Consolata Shimwe, who speaks in schools with our center. And her family was on the run for 3 months, you know, in 1994, in April, May, and into June, and her family was taken in by Muslims who protected her mother, herself, and her sister. You know, and that's, again, it's important when she goes into schools and she talks about what happened to her is, you know, not making comparisons, but the steps are the same. The dehumanization, all of the hatred. And then she fills in and talks about how her neighbors turned on her, how people who were family friends turned them in, called the killers. And then it was a Muslim family who took them in and hit them. Very powerful. So, you know, and she says there are good and bad in everyone, and we have to always recognize the good. So, you know, just like to acknowledge that. Okay, we're gonna have questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. And Bob?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
I actually have a question. It's about, stand up. I actually have a question it's really about American anti-Semitism, anti-Israel. So I don't know if this is anti-Zionist, yes. I don't know if this question is fair for you guys, but for the, let's say, some of the I'm sure you've heard about the protests at American universities, Columbia University in particular. What would you say to them?
Well, Joseph, it's your moment.
And can you go to every college campus out there and say that message, please?
You know, I wish we can go through debates and discussions about history. I wish things are highlighted in a way that they understand more about what happened there prior to 1948. I wish they had the capacity or the empathy or let's say the courage to go out of their comfort zone and speak about things that maybe they are not really educated about. You know, what really pisses me off right now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this walking or to be woke, is that it creates a sort of glorious moments among those youngs because they come from mostly, by the way, I wouldn't say American, but mostly from immigrant families that they were kind of weak and they bring they feel themselves as weak in a very strong American society. So they had or they needed a narrative that will put them from the weak side to the hero side, to the underdog side. And this is why they embraced the woke trend in a way that maybe we are not that weak, maybe we are strong, and it's time to overthrow American leaders and it's time to take leadership and do something. But this is just poetry, sorry. For me, I want to tell them that if you are really care about the Palestinian, then please read the history of Palestine first. If you really care about the Palestinians, then tell me who is the first president of Palestine, because it doesn't exist. If you really care about the Palestinians and you see people dying, then please tell me more about Hamas and how they killed more than 300 people from Fatah to take over Gaza. I believe that the nuances are clear to me or maybe clear to you, but they are not clear to them because it's not about humanity, it's about ideology. Like they don't really care about the humans. And I always say that, and I'm sorry to say that, but if only back in 1948, or let's say 47, if some of Arab states, they only left Palestinian alone, they would have made peace with Israelis. If only they leave them alone. Because you see that Al-Husseini, as a grand imam of Jerusalem, had to flee after Iraq to Nazi Germany to get endorsement from Hitler, because he understood that the Arabs may not share the same point of view as what he wanted to achieve back then. And Hitler back then was very smart, because as anti-Semitism grew in Europe, he doesn't know much about the Arab and Muslim society, so he had to give the platform to create a new sort of anti-Semitism, which is the Muslim anti-Semitism. Even which is funnily discussed, both Arabs and Israelis are Semites. They are cousins. So how can you be anti yourself? But because Gran al-Mufti had the ingenious, the genius idea to be self-Muslim, self-hating Muslim, just like there are some self-hating Jews. The thing is that I want people to educate themselves, to be more curious than judgmental. I want them to understand that if you don't know the history of Jews, you have no legitimacy to speak about the so-called Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And I will tell you something, there is a lot of voiceless Palestinians that I know that some of them worked with me in the World Economic Forum, that they really want peace with Israelis. And if you go back a little bit, and this is just for the anecdote, I talked about the Husseini family, who were very radical. And as a matter of fact, they had no chauvinism to Palestine. What they wanted to create is the Arab Syria. This is what they wanted to restore back then. They didn't really believe in that project until Balfour declared the promise to the Jews. But in that particular moment, nobody focused on two big families in Jerusalem. That for me, they held a little bit of hope back then. And here I'm talking about the Nashishbi family, which is a Muslim family, and the Klibo family, which is an Arab Christian family. Those two families, they say that, and I'm quoting Nashishbi here, he said it's very unrealistic to oppose the Zionist project. And they wanted to negotiate, they wanted to discuss, but we gave the partition plan to the wrong people. And also Arabs also used this the opposition of the partition plan for their own purposes, because let's talk about the tricky reality. If there was no Israel, there will never be a Palestine. Let's state that, because Syria will take some of it, Egypt will take some of it, Jordan will take some of it, end of story. But because there is Israel, that's why Arabs, they got themselves involved in that. And who are the victims? Palestinians and Israelis. I believe that this is what I'm telling to Columbia students, because I understand the frustration because they are misinformed, but I don't understand why they take initiatives based on baseless information. And I believe it's time to take leadership, because we think that the people in university are smart. No, they just started in life. And it's our moral obligation, all of us, to give them guidance, to give them a sort of purpose, because otherwise people, they will fill the vacuum. And you understand what happened right now through all this Al Jazeera misinformation. And we thought, like it's like we paved our way to hell with good intentions. We thought that social media will kind of bring a sort of clarity to people. But they say it's like what I call like the Netflix syndrome. You have a lot of movies, but you end up watching none. You get lost and you go to sleep. This is exactly the abundance of information, the abundance of knowledge blocks you from learning. This is why nothing will substitute the guidance, this transitional role of a teacher from bringing knowledge to guide you to knowledge. Are we really guiding those people to knowledge? This is the question I would love to ask you all. Are we really give them a sort of map to go through all the misinformation to where we want them to go, which is just a reality, nothing more than that.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation. It's really been heartfelt and gives us hope. It appears that we could be at a critical turning point in history with everything that's happening in the Middle East and Iran. But we're facing tremendous obstacles. Europe is being radicalized. You have insanity running the governments in too many European countries. You're facing the Muslim Brotherhood. You're facing billions of dollars from Qatar and other Arab countries funding this radical behavior, divided societies here in the US, situation in Iran. How do you view the future? I mean, you're obviously very positive and optimistic, but how do you really, I hope your crystal ball will help guide us. And how do you view what's going to happen?
Unfortunately, yes, this is the reality. And I think one of the people that warned us that's going to happen, I think in 2017, if I'm not wrong, was the foreign minister of UAE, when he said, one day we'll see more radicalized Europe than any country, when we will see the Islamist and Muslim Brotherhood taking over Europe and also the US, and we banned it. The UAE banned the Muslim Brotherhood, Bahrain, Morocco, the Muslim and Arab countries banned it because they know the danger that they bring to the communities, you know. They don't want the people to get radicalized. And we saw one of the decision UAE done a few weeks ago when they said they stopped the scholarship from UAE to the UK because they're afraid that the students will go to the UK and get radicalized. Imagine how crazy this is. For me as an Arab and Muslim, seeing the scenes that we see in the UK and Europe is crazy, because we're seeing how the Islamist and Muslim Brotherhood actually affecting those Western world countries. And unfortunately, I don't see any lights now at the end of the tunnel, because they've been warned about this happening. And I think, unfortunately, people in those countries misuse freedom of speech. Because back home in Bahrain and UAE and Morocco, the imams in the mosque can't say anything they want and target, for example, the Jews or the Christians or any nationality or religions without any, the government seeing if someone said that, he will be immediately called to the police, you know? You can't do that in our countries. But in Europe, they can't do that, because if anyone opposes them, they will be like, you're Islamophobic. You're doing this in purpose, attacking us Muslims. But we know that they're like not normal Muslims. They're using political agendas and supported by the Muslim Brotherhood. So until this countries put some strong laws to manage all of this, I don't think anything is going to change, because they have to learn from us. We banned Al Jazeera, for example. We banned Muslim Brotherhood. Until they do things like that and they control the things that imams say in mosques, I don't think anything is going to change, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you. The program was absolutely wonderful. The last two speakers mentioned Iran and Palestine, and the building of bridges, obviously, you're doing a great job. But the two very critical bridges that need to be built, what's going on in Gaza, what's currently going on in Iran, and I was wondering how SHARAKA is doing either currently or what the projected plans are to help build those bridges.
You know, generally speaking, we try to avoid politics because we believe that it's a geopolitical issue between people from Gaza, and especially their radical leadership right now, and Israelis on the other hand. So for us as SHARAKA, we see it more as a people-to-people organization in the aftermath of the Abraham Accords. But at the same time, what is very important is that this also brought us to the conclusion that if, as I said before, if Arabs started that war, or us started that hatred, maybe it's time to Arabs to end that war. Because at the end, if you see clearly who fuels the hatred within the Palestinian societies, for instance, it's an imported hate coming not necessarily from Palestinians. And they always joke about it. I said, I think Arabs are more Palestinians than the Palestinians themselves. And not only Arabs, even people here in America and in Europe, they are more Palestinians than Palestinians themselves. Like not in terms of numbers, but in terms of chauvinism, even if they have never been there. I believe that what we try to do is to give a very honest, innocent kind of perspective, even if this innocent and realistic might sound subjective, but at the end we bring people and we take them there. It's not that we write articles or make videos. So the idea here is whether we want to create a new Arab order, like Bahrain, Morocco, UAE, that they will put Israel in its natural place, which is Middle East, and start from there. Maybe this will encourage Palestinians who always gained credibility from the outside rather from the inside. So maybe this will give them a conviction that nobody will endorse you right now until you know that nobody is going nowhere, and it's time for you to have peace with Israel. And the map isn't really the right map you need to put, and it's time to work with the factual, contextual data that is right now. I believe that Palestinians are one of the most educated people in the Middle East right now. you have no idea that we did some assessments, and you can see how most of them, they have more than bachelor degree as the age of 25. Not to talk about the people who had master degree from those universities. And I believe that they can talk better about themselves. They can talk better about their cause. It's just that we don't have to cheer the wrong ones. Hamas is not representative of the Palestinians. And by the way, they don't want to show it that much because tell me more about the freedom of speech in Gaza. It doesn't exist. So how can we make a poll and say that all the Gazans, they are pro-Hamas? Because I've read this many times in newspapers, and 90%, 80% from where you get your data. You tell me 80,000 people died in that war, and you said it before, from the Gaza.
Gazan Health Ministry, that
Yeah.
very
How
legitimate
credible.
organization.
How credible.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what I'm trying to do, is that let's not fall in this generalization bias. Palestinians, they are more than Hamas, they are more than terrorists. Palestinians are people that they can have peace. We've seen this within Israeli society as the 20% Arab diaspora, if we can call it that way. And I believe that it's the moral obligation for us Arabs to cheer for the right leaders. We have many prominent voices. In Washington, D.C., you have Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib, who is a prominent Gaza voice that lives and works with the Atlantic Dialogue in Washington, D.C. I wish you can invite him one day and can speak as a Gazans, and he wants peace with Israel. And he roots for peace with Israel. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. It's a very indirect way to say that Abraham Accords are doing the big turn in a way that educate Arabs to endorse the right leadership in Palestine rather than make Palestine as a criteria to open up to the Arabs. And I believe this is exactly what we try to do from the people-to-people level.
I'll just mention shortly the things that we do in SHARAKA with the Palestinians in our work, that we try as much as we can to include them if it's safe for them. Because unfortunately, sometimes it's not safe for them. One of the times we had one of the participants from the West Bank and went with us to Auschwitz. The moment he went back, his car was burned just because he was part of a delegation to Poland. Imagine that. So sometimes, unfortunately, we have to say no to them. But I think one of the things that we did in SHARAKA is after October 7, by 2 months, I think, everyone was concerned, sad, lost hope for peace. The thing that we did an online meeting that we brought someone from Gaza that he didn't open the camera. So, no, it wasn't Manar, it was someone else. She didn't open his camera because he didn't want to show his face, to not be in danger, and we had to change his voice to not get recognized, and an Israeli Arab and a Jew. And we brought all of our community to come and ask questions, as simple as, how's your family, Just to see the human in Gaza and the Israeli Arabs community or in the Jewish community. It's important for us to bring a safe space for everyone to come and talk and ask questions. And that's what we try as much as we can to bring Palestinians in our work.
Just one last because this is a very important question. Why we feel very empathetic to the Palestinians after, of course, making peace with Israel, is that I hate judging people without leadership. I'm not a fan of that. Those people, they don't have leadership. How can we judge them? What is this credible focal point that will talk by their name and give us trustworthy data about them? They have none any. So judging them will just make us fall into a judgment of value than a real, factual judgment. And this is why I feel more empathetic to them, because at the end, who represent them? Nobody.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna just ask one question. I know you've been up there for quite a while. So, unfortunately, what's happening in Iran is there are no words. I mean, people are literally going out of their homes knowing that there is a good chance that they don't return, or they return. If they return, it certainly has changed people, whether they're abused or, horrific things, just like we've seen in terror around, in so many countries. So Here, you know, we're speaking about it, like we're trying to talk to people, we're trying to bring attention, and we're trying to get our elected officials to do what they can to put the pressure to help the Iranian people who are literally risking their lives because they feel that the next generation deserves a better world. What do you see in the countries that you come from and the countries that you visit? You know, what are their viewpoints on what's happening in Iran, and is there anything that they can do to help as well?
I'll just say from the Israeli side, I know before the revolution, before 79, Israel and Iran had an insane relationship. There was a very, very close relationship. There was direct flights from Tehran to Tel Aviv. And I know so many people in Israel are praying and waiting for the day that that can happen again. And same thing I know with the Iranian people. You've seen in some of the protests, obviously there has been tons of videos that have gotten out because of the blackout, but in some of the videos you've seen Israeli flags being flown. And same thing, there was a protest recently in Tel Aviv in which you saw the Iranian flag with the lion, with the rising lion as well. So in terms of Israel, so many people are praying that the regime falls to help reconnect this relationship. And I really do believe that one day when, you know, hopefully Israel's out of a war, the Iranian people are free, we're going to see a very, very strong Middle East. I know in terms of the Israeli people, we're praying and people are starting to speak out a lot about it. You're not seeing so much in the United States, but in Israel, you definitely see a lot of people, specifically in Tel Aviv, speaking out about the Iranian people and calling out prayers for them.
I'll just add a bit. I think we always get asked, what is the next country joining the Abraham Accord? If the regime falls and a new government come in, if it's the Shah or someone else, I think the next government joining the Abraham Accord would be Iran, absolutely, you know. The people of Iran are ready for the change, and all of us stand with the people of Iran. And of course, we're against the regime in Iran because they are a threat. As much as they are a threat to the people, they are a threat to us. The regime just 2 months ago, in the past, I think 100 years, since I was born, I heard them claiming Bahrain as a part of Iran. So imagine, they just said this 2 months ago. So it's until recently. So you can imagine how a big a threat they are to the not only to the people of Iran, not only to Israel, but also for countries like Bahrain. So we hope and we wish for the regime to fall for the sake of the people, of course, first, and for the whole neighboring country. And for me, myself, I speak about them every day. I post about them every day and encourage always the people to speak about the Iranian people that are voiceless now, of course.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments on there about that? Yes. Okay, one more last question and then we will end it here.
I really don't have a question. I just want to say that you exemplify the youth that we need. You should be at the UN. You should speak before Congress. We need you to be able to have 10,000 more people like you speaking with the intelligence and the eloquence that you did. I personally, I think on behalf of HMTC, thank you for coming. I wish we had many more like you. And you could be very proud of yourself, and you did well for your countries.
Thank you so very much. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you so much for the museum. And just my final note to everybody, if you want to see more about what we do, I really inspire and hope that all of you will follow us on social media. Facebook, X, LinkedIn, whatever it may be that you use, Instagram. You can follow SHARAKA and you can also follow Fatima Al-Halbi as well, where we share more about the missions that we do as well.